When people say find a property that you can add value to or you can force appreciation into, what do they mean by that?
That's amazing, because in stocks, you can't force appreciation into a stock. But in a house, if you bought a 3-bedroom house and there's a loft, you can add a 4th bedroom and add appreciation to that house. Or you can do what I do, take a dumpy house and fix it up a little bit nicer as you live in it for the course of 2 years or so. And when you fix it up, the buyers get to see a higher value in that house and pay you more. It's forcing value into the house. It's making the house worth more. And there's not a lot of investments that you can do that with.
Got it. You also mentioned principal pay down. Can you explain that?
Yeah, principal pay down. So you have kind of 2 main buckets. You have principal and interest. Interest is what you're paying to the bank. Principal is what's going towards the mortgage of your home. Your home is being paid off. When you have a tenant, they're paying both of those. They're paying the bank and they're paying down the principal of the house, what you owe left on the house. So principal pay down is essentially your tenants are paying down your house.
So even if you're collecting, say, $2,000 a month in rent and $1,500 of that is going to your mortgage, some of that is actually going to pay down your mortgage and you're going to gain equity from that. So you might be cash flowing a certain amount, but you're actually getting that principal reduced every single month just by the tenant being in there.
Exactly. Just building equity. Yeah. And in a perfect world, if we look at it, over the course of 30 years, you had the same tenant, same house, same mortgage payment, and you bought that house for $500,000. Your tenant is literally paying off that $500,000 on that house while it's appreciating as well. So you're probably selling for more. Yeah.
You also mentioned tax benefits. What are some of the tax benefits?
Yeah, there's several. So the 3 main tax benefits that I like to think of are all my expenses for the house. One of those expenses is interest to a bank. That's a tax write-off. All the interest that a bank is charging you, that's a tax write-off because it's an expense. Anything that you're buying from Home Depot, your landscapers, anything like that, all those expenses are tax write-offs. And then you have what's called depreciation on a house, which is not the opposite of appreciation. But if you ever bought a truck for a business, you can depreciate the value of that truck in your taxes every year. So for a home, you have the land and you have the structure on the land, the actual physical house. You take the value of that house, which can be found on your local tax website. You take the value of that house and you divide it by 27 and a half years. You can write off that amount every year for the next 27 and a half years. So if you bought a house, let me do the math real quick. 27 times 2, 40 to 54. So if you bought a house, the actual structure of the house is worth $540,000. You're writing off 20 grand a year. Level 201, you can do accelerated depreciation, and you could take all those tax write-offs in the first 5 years. That 27 and a half years can be accelerated to 5 years. And that's a really big tax benefit as well. And then lastly, we have a 1031 exchange. And a 1031 exchange is just tax code 1031. And it essentially allows you to defer the taxes that you have on an investment property and kick the can down the road. So if I have an investment property, as long as I buy another investment property and follow a couple other rules, within 6 months, I don't have to pay taxes on that first sale. I can use that entire sum of money into my next purchase. If that code didn't exist, I would sell a house. Let's say I sold a house for $500,000 profit, and then I would get taxed. And now I can only make a $300,000 purchase. You can't buy as much, and you can't grow, and you can't scale as much as if you were using the full amount up front. If I use the full $500,000 to buy more, I can scale a lot quicker, and eventually you'll have to pay those taxes. But when it comes to growing a business, the government incentivizes you to invest in real estate.
When you say eventually for the 1031 exchange, say eventually you have to pay those taxes, how does that work? Do you, after 10 years, you've been swapping into a new property and you started with a $200,000 property, now you have a $1.5 million property and you sell it, do you pay capital gains tax on that whole difference? Or how does that work?
Yeah, you pay capital gains on what the boot is, or the profit of the property. So if you own stocks and you purchased stocks and it gained value all the way up to 2,000 and you sold, you would only really be paying the remainder, the one taxes on that $1,000. Same thing for real estate. So you kind of kick the can down the road and you pay what the difference is on the boot, the difference between the value that you bought it and the gains that you made.
And if you pass away before you sell the property and don't exchange it to another property, do your heirs pay that tax?
Most likely. But what you can do is you can set up your properties into a trust and have the members of your family as members of that trust, and the property can be transferred through the trust, and then they have what's called a step up in basis, so that you're paying significantly less taxes if you are paying taxes.
Nice. Sounds like the U.S. government really likes to incentivize people to buy real estate.
Yeah, totally. And like home building is one of the leaders in our GDP, our gross domestic product. It fuels our economy. Real estate fuels our economy, and they incentivize people to be dealing in real estate is because it improves our economy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Same way why you have government-backed loans, like they're incentivizing home buyers to purchase properties, is because it makes our economy really, really strong.
Right.
Yeah.
People owning homes generally is to better quality of life. They have, better hedges against inflation, where their housing expenses are the same. They just have less stress. They build equity. A lot of folks, their retirement is their home.
Yeah.
And so the government definitely likes people to own homes.
Yeah.